Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are wading right into some really high-stakes territory, the negotiation room.
We are. And these aren't just, simple meetings. They're profoundly strategic events, especially in the business world.
Right. Things like contract disputes, claims resolution. These are things that need a structured approach. You need a really strong grasp of the legal and financial gravity of it all.
You absolutely do. We're not talking about haggling, are we?
Not at all. We're talking about situations with big players, an employer, an engineer, a contractor, and they all come to the table with very different priorities.
And different constraints. Which brings up the first question you always have to ask. Who's actually authorized to make a deal?
That's huge.
It is. Because negotiation is, at its core, a bargaining process. It's all about give and take. But if you're using something like a FDI contract, the engineer might have very limited authority.
And the employer might only step in for, the final sign-off.
Exactly. So if you don't figure that out up front, you can waste a tremendous amount of time.
So, our mission today is to give you that systematic framework the pros use. We're going to break down the 10-step process for developing and executing a successful negotiation strategy.
If you need to get up to speed on this, and fast, this is the place to be.
Okay, let's unpack this. All right, let's start with the foundation. The first 3 steps are assess, strategy, and prepare. So, step 1, assess. What does that actually involve?
Assessment is all about establishing the non-negotiable facts. You need absolute clarity on the situation.
The conflict, the issues.
The conflict, the issues, the scale, the risks involved. You have to identify every stakeholder, understand the timing, and know the governance, basically, who sets the rules.
If the facts are blurry, your strategy is built on sand.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So once that's done, we move to step 2, strategy development. This is the game plan, right? Establishing objectives, primary and secondary issues, timelines.
All of that. And your targets, your fallbacks, the concessions you're willing to make, and crucially, the approvals you need. But, a list isn't enough. A really robust strategy is built on 5 core principles. Things like leadership, advantage, focus, adaptability, and mentality.
Mentality.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Why is that so important in the strategy phase?
Because negotiation is inherently stressful. Mentality is about making sure your team stays emotionally detached, disciplined, focused on objective criteria, not personalities.
And I guess adaptability is for when the other party throws a curveball.
Precisely. These principles are the backbone. They keep the whole process from falling apart when the pressure really ramps up.
Which brings us to step 3, prepare. You said this one is massive, a deep dive within our deep dive.
It really is. The first thing you need is what's called the primary issue list, or a TMW list.
TMW.
Target, minimum, and walk away. For every single issue, you define your ideal target, the absolute minimum you'll accept, and your walk-away point.
And you give each one a priority.
A priority, one being the highest. It just grounds the whole process. It stops you from getting carried away or, settling for too little.
So we have our TMW list for the big stuff, a wish list for secondary items, and then the concession list. You said this has to follow the rule of quid pro quo.
Strictly. You never, ever offer a freebie. Every single move has to be conditional. If I give you X, I must get Y in return.
Speaking of conditions, this is where we hit maybe the most critical concept in all of preparation, BENA. What is BENA?
BENA. It stands for the best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
So your backup plan.
It's more than a backup plan. It's your walkaway plan. If the negotiation completely fails, your BENA is the single best action you will take instead. Its power is Ian's. Well, your leverage in that room is directly tied to how strong your BENA is.
I see. It's the measuring stick. If their offer is worse than your BENA.
You walk. Or at the very least, you call for a timeout to regroup.
So how do you build one? A strong BENA?
It's a methodical process. First, you brainstorm every possible action if you don't get a deal. Litigation, new supplier, whatever it is. Second, you look at that list and figure out which ones are actually realistic. And third, you select the single best, most viable option. That is your BDTNA.
And while you're at it, you should also figure out your WATNA, the worst alternative, just to know what failure really looks like.
Yes, and here's the really strategic part. You have to do the same analysis for the other party. What's their BTNA? What's their WATNA?
What are they afraid of if this whole thing breaks down?
Exactly. If you know their WATNA is, say, immediate bankruptcy, your position is suddenly incredibly strong.
So our BTNA is our defense. Who are the people on the front line? This brings us to structuring the team itself. It's not just a random group of managers, is it?
Oh, definitely not. You need a structured team. The core idea is to separate the different functions. You separate doing from, say, observing and deciding.
So who does the talking?
That's the leader. They conduct the orchestra, basically. They make proposals, trade concessions. But, and this is important, they might not be the most senior person there.
Why not?
Because seniority can come with ego, with an emotional investment. The decision maker, who is usually the most senior, should ideally stay quiet. They just give the final yes based on prearranged signals from the leader.
And the other roles.
You have a summarizer who asks clarifying questions to buy thinking times. You have an observer who watches body language and listens for hidden clues, and they should be totally silent.
That separation must prevent so many emotional mistakes.
It does. Then you have your recorder for notes, maybe a discipline specialist like a lawyer, and crucial back office support for instant research. It's a machine.
And finally, logistics. The venue, the shape of the table.
It all matters. A square table feels confrontational, a round one is more collaborative, and you have to get all your internal approvals sorted out before you walk in that room.
Otherwise, you're just negotiating with no real power.
You're negotiating with your hands tied.
Okay, so the foundation is set. Now we move into the actual interaction, starting with step 4, explore. The meeting begins.
Exactly. Introduction, seating, agenda. That's all standard. But the most critical part here is the opening statement.
Which people often neglect.
They do, and it's a huge mistake. You have to script it and rehearse it.
Why is it that vital?
Because it sets the entire tone for everything that follows. It shows you're serious. You can outline your objectives, your position, the process you expect. It just signals discipline right from the get-go.
After the opening, exploration becomes about information exchange. I love that practical tip about using a big whiteboard to track everyone's position.
Picking photos as you go, yeah. It makes the whole thing visible and shared. It's no longer just abstract.
Which leads right into step 5, options. This is where we start trying to find that mutual gain.
We're trying to invent options, but it's harder than it sounds. There's some real mental blocks people have.
Right, the 4 big constraints.
The 4 big ones, yeah. First is premature judgment, just shooting down ideas too fast. Second is searching for a single right answer.
When there might be several good ones.
Exactly. Third is assuming a fixed pie. There's only so much to go around. And fourth is thinking that their problem is, well, only their problem. You have to get past that.
And to do that, you need constructive dialogue. Separate the people from the problem. Don't interrupt. No sarcasm.
And this is a huge one. Arguments, principles, and opinions cannot be negotiated. They are just roadblocks.
Wait, that's a big statement. Surely in a big dispute, you have to argue about who's right.
Well, yes, but you have to anchor that argument in something objective. You don't negotiate opinions. You negotiate the application of objective criteria.
Give me an example.
Things like market value, precedent, professional standards, what a court would likely decide. You test your solutions against those standards, which have to apply to both sides. It neutralizes the emotion.
That reframing is key. Okay. On to step 6, testing, putting a proposal on the table.
Generally, you want to make the first one. It sets the anchor, but it has to be realistic and credible. And you always test it using what we call signal and, of course, quid pro quo.
You said signal. What does that mean, practically?
It's not an acronym. It's more a mechanism.
Yeah.
It just forces you into the language of, if you do X, then I can do Y. Every move you make is conditional.
And testing those conditional moves helps you find the ZOP.
The zone of potential agreement.
Right.
It's the trading range, the overlap between your bottom line and their bottom line.
Yeah.
If there's no overlap.
There's no deal. And you go to your BATNA.
That's it. Now, if they make the first proposal,
what do you do?
You never interrupt. You listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Then you probe it. You ask questions about the basis for it. And you don't complain about it. You propose a remedy.
This is where that wish list comes in handy, I bet.
Perfect opportunity. You can trade one of your small secondary issues for something they see as a big win.
Let's move into the end game. Step 7, packaging. We've tested the issues. We know the tough ones. What now?
The rule here is avoid closing issues one by one.
Really? Why not lock in the easy wins?
Because if you solve all the easy stuff first, you've got no trading shifts left for the hard issues. You lose your leverage. The strategy is to group issues together to test package deals.
So you can trade an easy win for you against a hard one for them.
On a much bigger scale. It makes the quid pro quo more powerful.
Step 8 is trading. And this is where we see those different styles, right? Competitive versus collaborative.
Exactly. The competitive style is win-lose. It's adversarial, it's emotional, it's secretive. The collaborative or win-win style is all about problem solving and trust. For any long-term business relationship, it's almost always the better choice.
And the rules for trading are strict. Make modest moves, don't give in to threats.
And always be ready to take a time out. If things get heated or confusing, just pause. And the cardinal rule,
No freebies.
never give anything away for free.
And during all this trading, we have to remember that what we say is only a tiny part of the communication.
A tiny part. Spoken words are, 7%? Voice and tone are 38%, and body language is a staggering 55%.
So every crossed arm, every shift in posture is sending a signal.
Huge signals. Crossing your arms can mean you're not receptive. I once saw a deal turn the moment one side's leader, who'd been stiff as a board, suddenly relaxed and opened his palms. That was the moment he decided to concede. You have to read that data.
And be aware of culture, because those signals aren't universal.
Not at all. A gesture that's positive in one culture can be deeply offensive in another.
What if you're dealing with someone who's just difficult? They won't engage fairly.
You don't push back with the same tactics. You focus on the merits. Let them blow off steam, ask questions to get behind their position, use silence. And if they use dirty tricks, like deception or psychological games,
What then?
you call it out. You negotiate about the process itself. Question the legitimacy of the tactic. And you always have your objective criteria and your BATNA to fall back on.
Which brings us to the final steps. 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Close and agree. What's trial close?
A trial close is just testing the waters. You see if the deal can be finalized. It's usually when the questions shift from big issues to minor logistical details.
Like asking about implementation dates.
Right, it's a signal they're ready. But there's a huge warning here.
Don't get greedy.
Do not get greedy. If you're in striking distance of a deal, don't push for one last little thing. You can blow up the whole negotiation.
So once the deal is there, step 10 is to agree.
And clarity here is everything. The final agreement must be in writing. A memo of understanding, a contract amendment, whatever the format is. Get the lawyers to approve it, make sure the right people sign it, and agree on an action plan for how it all gets implemented.
So what does this all mean?
It means that success in these high-stakes negotiations isn't some kind of dark art. It's a system. The macro lessons are pretty clear. You assess your situation, you make a strategy, you follow the process, prepare everything, train your team, get your approvals, and then you execute.
It's really incredible how much of it comes down to that preparation, to knowing your worst case scenario. So if the goal is always to find some mutual gain, to find that ZOPA, and if your BATNA, the strength of your alternative, is your ultimate source of leverage, it makes me wonder, is the negotiation process ultimately just a test of which party is least afraid to rely on their BATNA?
If you are interested in buying our team-based negotiation training course, then visit our shop. The link is included in the description. Thanks for watching and see you next time.